Hello and welcome to this Jaguar XK8 video, Racing Green, featuring the later Tempest and Typhoon Special Edition cars. This is video 133 in our series of XK8 videos, and this video we're going to explore the modified car offerings from Racing Green cars. This is a follow-up video to a series of videos which were documenting all the modified cars and special editions that have come about for the XK8 XKR X100 series cars. In this video we're going to feature Racing Green. As I said, in doing that we're going to split it up into 4 sections. We're going to have a look at the Silver Typhoon. We're going to take a look at the brochure card from the late 90s, early 2000s, detailing what Racing Green were all about. Section 3, we're going to take a look at the price list, very detailed price list from 2001. And finally, Section 4, we're going to look at the current offering from Racing Green as it is now in 2021. If you're interested in this video, you're interested in Jaguar XK8s, XKRs, X100s, please take a look at our channel, ONDR Modurol. There's a lot more content on there. Okay, so starting at the beginning, the Silver Typhoon. Now this particular Typhoon was previously owned by Martin Bolt, and Martin quite kindly shared some photographs and some information about this car and some Paramount modified cars he's currently got, which you'll see in video 129. So this is his old silver XKR Typhoon. What an awesome car. This was the spec according to Martin, so full Arden body kit, front lower fairing, side sills, rear lower valance, main front grille, overriders removed, 20-inch Arden Supersport 3-piece forged alloys, lowered suspension, polished aluminium pedal set, front rests, instrument rings, white side indicator lenses, side body mouldings removed. Here's the guts of it, if you would. The Typhoon engine and powertrain upgrades to 450 bhp. Awesome. Stainless steel Paramount Performance exhaust, engine management upgrade by Racing Green, supercharger pulley upgrade, and the Qualif automatic torque-based biasing LSD limited slip diff. Now that's a big plus. So if you weren't aware, there was at the end of the X100 manufacturing, Racing Green offered 2 series cars, the Typhoon and the Tempest. Looking at what they say about it in the XK Enthusiast Club website here, just a quote from those guys there. Racing Green Cars Limited at Asheville, Hampshire, UK produced 2 variation styles of the XKR in limited edition form called the XKR 400 Tempest and the XKR 450 Typhoon. Bear in mind these are based on the later 4.2 litre cars, so the normal XKR was already producing 400 bhp. The former being the styling upgrade, whilst the other is a performance type upgrade with a limited production of 20 cars of each model being produced. The Tempest comes with just over 11k worth of mods, while the Typhoon comes in at more expensive 19k. And add this to the existing price in XKR, you really have it says a special car, expensive car, indeed. The Tempest comes with enhanced bodywork modifications, the air grille, side sills, rear valance, the mesh front grille, and the car is lowered by means of the Arden Sport suspension, electronic wheel alignment, and huge 20-inch sport alloy wheels, switchable steering, and half system exhaust conversion to add some interest. The transformation is finished off with some very unique badging eyes, badged Tempest everywhere. The Typhoon, on the other hand, comes with the similar, well, basically the same modifications, but also the engine tuning, as we've already seen on Martin's Silver Typhoon, and a 6-speed button gear change system, the F1 Swtichshift. So there you go. So that explains. So the 2 models, basically, they produce 20 of each. One was just the styling upgrade of the standard XKR, but the other one was also the performance one, performance uplift. So here's a black Typhoon. It's actually featured in an article on the internet by Evo magazine, I'll show you with another video. It's got some lovely Arden Sportline forged 3-piece alloy wheels. They are the dogs. They're really nice wheels. Section 2 then, the brochure card, which I've picked up off the internet. Just a piece of history here. So what Racing Green was all about back in the early 2000s, late 1990s. No ordinary motoring experience. Jaguar. The sight and sound of a dark green racing Jaguar at full song has thrilled generations of enthusiasts. Shattering performance, innovative engineering, classic looks all help to create a legend that is alive today, as when the first XK120 began record breaking. And now you can enjoy the legend. From keeping your classic up together with regular TLC or transforming your new Jaguar into one of the most sensational performance cars on the road, Racing Green Cars captures the essence of that Jaguar for you, and that's what we're really interested in, the tuned cars. This is an engineering-led company which lives for Jaguars. Racing, restoration, routine maintenance, sales, sourcing, and high-performance conversions all combine to offer you a total integrated facility designed to maximize your enjoyment of a living legend. Now, currently, Racing Green have specialized more into TVRs, but they were historically based on Jaguars by the looks of this. There's the back of the information card. The heart of performance. Whatever kind of Jaguar you own, you'll want the best for it. Racing Green Cars is not a new car retailer, but a service company owned and managed by enthusiasts. The emphasis is on engineering. Some customers rely on Racing Green Cars to look after their elderly Jaguars that they use every working day. Others to have the brakes and suspension modernized. They know that if a part can't be sourced, Racing Green Cars can make it. They're quite resourceful guys, and I think that's quite still the core of their business today, supporting people racing cars and running their classic Jaguars and TVRs. It's the same commitment to engineering standards that is applied to new cars. As sole UK concessionaires to Arden, so basically they took over from Paramount Performance as being the Arden UK sales rep. Racing Green Cars offers a huge range of performance, bodywork and interior trim upgrades that allow customers to create a Jaguar that is unique to them. All customers are offered a program of maintenance and care for their Jaguar. It may be a gradual restoration of a 1955 saloon or a more progressive upgrading of a new XK8. Yes, please. Starting with special wheels and tyres and working up to a total body conversion, thanks to Arden. In an age of increasing bland motoring, Racing Cars is dedicated to putting the joy and individuality back into driving cars. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago, they were talking about this. I mean, even now, I think it's even more the case that we need less and less bland motoring and more of this sort of stuff. And it begins and ends with one of the greatest names in motoring heritage, Jaguar. Thumbs up. Make an appointment to meet one of the Racing Green engineers and see what the company is doing for their owners over a cup of coffee. What happened to the tea? Have a chat about your own car. It could be the start of a new love affair with motoring and a big expensive bill probably, but there you go. It's cars. So Racing Green Cars back then was in Guildford in Surrey, offering lots of support. So moving on, section 3, the price list based. This was based in 27th of October 2001, this price list. Racing Green with Arden XK8 XKR price list. Start with bodywork. So we've got front and rear fairings, side sill sponsons with air intakes, number plate plinth if you haven't got the bumper. So you can see the front lower spoiler on the front bumper and the rear lower spoiler on the rear bumper. Now the rear bumper did become a complete piece later on, post 2001 I believe, and it still applies to, you can still retrofit that. They offered mesh grills, chrome plated or satin black, and you can see the top left hand picture of the full piece bumper on the later cars. What else we got? Boot lid mounted rear spoiler, the rear double lamps. So this is body coloured. The two individual rear light clusters is a Arden specified thing. If you thought it was homemade, no, it's a very expensive option from Arden at £1,450. And also at this point they were selling the hardtop, double skin fiberglass hardtop, fully painted with heated rear window. Fits car with soft top lowered into normal stowage. Clamping is by attachment to special security housing bolted to the original soft top substantial main folding mechanism, and by original electric activated windscreen top rail clamps. Supplied with a wheeled storage trolley and cloth cover. The hardtop is factory painted the original Jaguar colour with leather headlining or with a velour headlining. You're looking at £4,000 back then. I mean, now you'd be lucky to get one for £6,000. But it's interesting looking at it's an interesting modification, this or option. Just looking at some of the pictures I found on the web. This is basically the Arden picture of their demonstrator silver kitted car with the silver soft top, and above is with those wheels, it looks absolutely menacing. Drop suspension at the top left right hand corner. You can see a more standard X car with the Detroit wheels, but it does change the look quite a lot. It interrupts the floor lines at the top of the car, and I was trying to find a parallel, and the parallel it looks very similar to me to the styling of a TVR Cerberus, in that the main cabin, the top of the car, there is a definite point of change of the curvature, which you don't get, as I say, on the top right hand corner there in the coupe styling. It's mainly a flowing curve, but there's definitely a point at which the curve stops and it breaks into the rear wing curve, and it does look more menacing. It looks really mean, that profile change, the two distinct curves instead of one curve flowing into the other. It does make your XKR more like a TVR, and you know how manly those cars are, but a real big styling change. So if I was dreaming, get an XKR soft top, remove the soft top, put the hard top on, never take it off. What a brilliant idea. So they got one drawback of this hard top is the gopping rear screen, which isn't particularly great styling. It does look slightly out of place, something akin to a Lexus Coupe Cabriolet in my opinion, but there you go. So the profile is superb, but the view from the back is not the best. There you go. An additional, another quite strange styling mod, which I've never seen one other than in this picture I'll show you in a moment, is the twin roll hoop system. This conversion involves the removal of the rear seats of a standard car. A carefully styled and fully effective steel rollover protection system is when installed to the rear seat area and bolted to the floor area, body sides and rear bulkhead. This features twin oval-shaped hoops which will support the full weight of the car should the vehicle become inverted in an accident. The system is designed and developed in conjunction with Safety Devices Limited. So basically this is a roll cage. It's half a roll cage. It's the roll hoop behind your seats. When installed, the car's rear accommodation can be converted to a fully trimmed storage area. So anything up to £1,000, £2,000, you're looking at, if you want the fully trimmed storage area behind the seats, that's another £750 20 years ago. So looking at some pictures of this is the Racing Greens demonstrator. You can see the steel black covered roll hoops in the back there. It does look a bit agricultural, a bit Miata MX-5, but if you're seriously going at a pace with these cars, and if you were afraid of rolling over, there's no better solution. But I haven't actually seen a car with that on. If you have a car with those roll hoops, please share with us, send us photographs. I'll be fascinated to see what it looks like and what you think of it. Okay, moving on to the technical conversion on performance upgrades. Racing Green, we're offering 4 levels of performance upgrades, starting from the top. 465 bhp upgrade for the XKR. The engine taken to 4.4 litres. The power output increased to 460 bhp and torque to 622 newton meters. Carried out in Germany. Obviously, Arden we're doing that, but it's part of the Arden tuning package. 430 bhp for your XKR. Engine power increased to approximately 430 bhp by incorporation of a sports exhaust conversion, engine management, fuel and boost pressure, and engine induction revisions fitted by Racing Green Performance. So basically, it's letting it breathe a little bit. The 400 upgrade for the XKR engine, but basically, to make it clear, this is based in 2001. In 2001, the XKR was only producing 370 bhp, so even 400 is 30 bhp increase. I mean, 465 is basically another 100 bhp increase. That's massive. Obviously, the engine was increased by Jaguar to 4.2 later anyway. But so the 400 upgrade, engine management revisions incorporated in the standard ECU by computer download. This is not a chip change. The upgrade results in an earlier rise and longer retention of torque developed without increasing the maximum torque generated. Provides the car with a much improved response in typical driving of driving range of 2,500 to 4,500 RPM. So this is the ECU, start of ECU tuning of the car. It's getting another 30 bhp. The 310 upgrade for the XK8. Engine power increased from 295 bhp to 310 by incorporation of a sports exhaust conversion induction system and VSAM. Now here, VSAM. We'll go into that in a moment. Very, very interesting. So you can see lots of little tweaks will get you more power. Moving on then, we talked a little bit about the exhaust system. So they were offering the full system exhaust conversion. Basically, they replaced the whole lot, including the cats. There's nearly £3,000 fitted. Half system supports its exhaust conversion. So this is basically replacement is a large bore half exhaust system after the rear silencer with large oval tail trims. Available in several sound levels to suit their owner. Obviously, everyone likes to hear the burble. When fitted on it gives a useful increase in mid-range torque and a very addictive V8 sound, making the XK8 a true sports car, not just a Grand Tourer. So I think this was basically replacing the center silencers with just basically over-axle pipes, removing the squash section, and some sport back boxes. Basically what I've got on my car. And then finally got the engine induction system, special air induction system comprising of Race Logic Blitz metal air filter, mounting brackets, so basically a cone filter, revised trunking, worth 6 bhp on its own, and when fitted in conjunction with a half sport system to the XKR or XK, raises the power to circa 400 or 310 bhp. Wow, I didn't realise that. I need to put a sports filter in my car. There you go. Moving on, we talked a little bit, we'll talk a little about Race Logic VSAM system. So basically this was a system is external to the engine management control unit, and it senses the crank speed, revises signal and feeds it to the ECU, thereby effectively adjusting the ignition advance externally. It makes XK8 more responsive from 2,500 RPM upwards. System can be disconnected at will. Now, try and explain this. I find this fascinating, this particular one. I'll go into more detail in a moment. There's also a Race Logic VMAX system, which was both the XKR XK8. It was basically taking away the speed limiter. So basically doing everything that the VSAM was doing plus the speed limit. So you weren't limited to 155 miles an hour. Good grief, how many people are doing that? But there you go. So going back to the VSAM system, this idea of the ignition advance. Now, this is not particularly new. So if you had an old car, traditional ignition, you had a distributor and you were able to change the advance or retard by basically rotating the whole distributor itself. However, later cars got into electronic ignition, and there's a couple of ways you can do that, because you can actually trick the crankshaft sensor by changing the bracketry to where the crankshaft sensor is sensing the drive plate, and that is done quite frequently with AJ6 and AJ16. You can buy these brackets which will actually give you 5 to 10 degrees advance. But on an XK8, the crankshaft sensor is actually cast quite definitely. The housing or the aperture is cast into the bell housing. And actually to get 5 degree of advance, looking at it, you need about, the hole diameter is about 18 millimeters. You need about 5 degrees based on the radius being 150 millimeters. You're going to need about 13, 14 millimeters of radial travel, and you can see it takes it away from the cast surface in the bell housing, and you'll have to basically remachine it in on the fixing point. So it's not practical. Hence, these guys have found this electronic way of doing it, and I'm very interested because I'd like to tweak my car 5 degrees, and if it's only a little bit of box electronics that they were doing 20 years ago, surely we can reinvent the wheel. Anyway, interested, I'll try and find more information about that and try and reinvent that wheel some point later on. Moving on to sequential gear change system. This is basically the F1 Swtichshift system, which I've covered in depth, or as much depth that I could at the time, in video 131. If you're not, just to quickly summarize that, so the Race Logic F1 speed shift for XKR. It's a 5-speed sequential gear change system for the automatic gearbox. It transfers the authority from the J-gate to 4 push buttons mounted on the rear of the steering wheel spokes. Revised gear change strategy and transmission protection features. Selected gears shown in a little dashboard LED indicator. It's normally housed in between the speedo and the rev counter, etc. There's an optional first gear selectable up to 23 miles an hour, which, if you're keen on burning off the lights, is very, very interesting, because XK8s, XKRs do not like to stay in first gear very long, and it's not particularly helpful if you want to get off from the lights. Race Logic F1 speed shift of the XK8 is very, very similar, but because the torque level is quite lower, it's got different gear change strategies. So there you go. But as I say, more information if you watch the video. Suspension systems then, there were lots of offers of upgrades, lowering the suspension, sport suspension, and finally road and track suspension, depending on how big your budget went. The lowered suspension wasn't just the springs, but also the alignment as well, 4-wheel laser adjustment, which obviously is critical if you start dropping everything 30 millimeters. The sport suspension was basically the same, but with the Bilstein cat shock absorbers, again with the alignment. And obviously road and track, where do you want to, the sky's the limit there. You can incorporate camber adjustment, 4-wheel laser alignment, etc. with that. And they were all offering this 20 years ago. Braking system, so as with the video I did for the Paramount, there was no mention of brakes. Thinking, well, you're upgrading everything, but you're not actually upgrading the thing stopping. So when it got to Racing Green, obviously people had probably got the fried to death who were actually talking about brakes. So here we got a road and track brake upgrade offered at £3,000. Front and rear brake discs with Polaris anti-pad float grooves, basically slotted discs, 6-pot front calipers, 4-pot rear calipers, special pad materials, special brake fluid, good reach, air-equipped hoses. So basically everybody started to look at the brakes a bit more, and then this was the start of it for them. Steering modifications, switchable steering revision with center console mounted switch control. I've yet to find a picture of this switch, but if you've got one, please send it to me. Standard Jaguar power steering when maneuvering, light for town driving, or revised heavier weight to give an improved feel at medium speeds. So basically it turns off part of the power steering assistance. I'm not quite sure how it does it. I'm fascinated to find out. Or you could actually buy a completely revised steering rack. A steering rack reconfigured by the OEM rack manufacturer, incorporating revised pinion valve and settings. This rack upgrade provides a much better steering feel and control than the standard installation, and I've got a feeling this was actually fitted to later Jaguar XK8 XKRs, but I'll stand to be corrected. Moving on to wheels and tyres, so they were offering two main offers, and these were both basically Oz wheels, which were being offered together with Arden as well. We got the 19-inch Futura wheel and the 19-inch Opera. I think both were available as 20 inches later on. But bear in mind, in 2000, Jaguar was the only one really selling 20-inch wheels of any note at that time. And there's also an offer of wheel arch clearancing, basically trimming the wheel arch flanges if you're dropping your car to 30 odd millimeters down and putting bigger wheels. Carrying on with wheels then, we had the authentic Jaguar wheel center spinners. They were being offered then. You can see in the bottom left photo there, basically that's part of the alloy wheel kit. A set of 4 triple-eared well centers with adapter kit, £695. They're not cheap. Probably more interesting is the wheel spacer location kit, a set of spore spacers with 20mm offset for standard Jaguar 18-inch alloys, £800 fitted. There was obviously miscellaneous accessories, lots of badges. You could buy badges, you could buy racing green badges, Arden badges, a leaping Jaguar on the bonnet, which had a rotating safety design, so when you actually try to impale yourself on it, it'd rotate around, you'd fall off. And obviously lots of interior bling, polished dials, footrest pedals, gear surround, etc., which we're all used to these days. What was interesting, there was air conditioning vent chroming as well, which you see on some of the earlier cars, but not. I don't think it's something that really caught on. And obviously the interior leather, carbon fiber, etc. Wood conversions, they were offering the carbon fiber option with the actual carbon fiber of the steering wheel, which is really nice looking. And an interesting, must be a rare mod here, is a navigation system. Bear in mind, this was being offered just before Jaguar offering its own sat-nav system. It was a custom install Alpine Navi system with Trident screen and rotating air vents, retaining the clock, air pressure and battery conditioned circular gauges. So if you see in the middle of the dash at the bottom left photograph, I think this is of I forget the VMAX. It was basically got a big body kit on this car, but I'll come round to that in turn. But you can see the sat nav is in the middle, and all the 3 dials are below, and you've got the 2 individual sort of air vents. And I've only seen this one photograph of this one car that has it, and I'm assuming this is this Alpine Navi system. A very, very odd modification, and you could actually have as an additional option for another £450 the same round dial vents on the outside dashboard air vents, but obviously whoever bought this car bought the sat nav but didn't run to the additional vents being changed around on the outside as well. Lots and lots of expense. Finally, in the price list, there's something that isn't very common now: radar detection equipment. Installed K40 forward and rearward radar detection and warning system with all detectors concealed behind the grills and number plates, with all indicators concealed in the main instrument tunnels, and with isolation switch in the center console with no attributive markings. The system provides visual and audio warning of interrogation, and sensitivity is adjustable for town and country use. This system is not discernible to the eye as a radar detection system unless the observer knows exactly what he or she is looking at. So basically this was back in the day where if you were being a bit naughty, you could actually sense the police. I mean, now we got cameras all over the roads, cameras everywhere, but back in the day, back 20 years ago, you only had the police with radar detectors to catch you speeding. And this was a way of actually giving you prior warning of them doing that. A bit very, very naughty, and I think quite illegal. Hence, it was all hidden. I think the actual indicators are actually inside the vents, the heater vents. So if you had a red light flashing and a buzzer sound from your vent, you were basically being clocked. Even naughtier, they're actually selling laser diffuser equipment. Install SLD 920 laser diffuser system with detector transmitter concealed behind the front grille and with isolation switch in the center console with no attributing markings. The price is based on the installation in conjunction with the radar detector. So basically this is a jammer. This is a radar jammer. So not only are you trying to get one ahead of the police trying to clock you speeding, you're also jamming their signal as you blast off into the distance. Very, very naughty. So if you've got two little switches in your center console with no attributable markings, it could be this. It could be this. And finally, we got the Zymol special finish, basically crystal clear finish, which bonds to your vehicle's original lacquer clear coat finish. So basically, it's the paint protection system. This system negates the need to polish a car and gives it astonishing durable showroom finish. And out of all the modifications, this is probably the one that most people probably took and very worthwhile. So there you go, the price list with all its options for your XKR back in 2001. So finally, just having a look at the current offers from Racing Green. Obviously, the company. Then, so how do we find Racing Green? So type in Racing Green, and you get lots of stuff, which is actually the color Racing Green. What you need to do though is actually need to put Racing Green cars, and there you go. Racing Green cars home, cars sale, TVR, Jaguar. That is the one. Unfortunately, Racing Green as a name isn't unique, and it's quite difficult to find it unless you know it's got the cars in the end. So please remember the cars. So if we go to home, which we're at currently, so we've got Racing Green, Specialist, Crate, and the ultimate driving experience for your car. So they're specializing in TVRs by the looks of it here currently. So let's have a look at the Jaguar offer. I think it's in the Heritage section. Yeah, Heritage, Jaguar. So Jaguar Heritage. So if we go to, they've obviously got all the Jaguar marks on here. Where's the XKs? XK8, there they are. XK8, XKR 1996 to 2006. That's what we're interested in. So here it goes on about the specification of the car. We won't really need to know about what they're offering, to be honest. So if we go back to servicing, Jaguar servicing, repairs, race preparation and parts, doesn't really say a lot, to be honest, about what they're doing now. There you go, it doesn't seem to be doing a lot for Jaguars at the minute, other than support racing. Cars for sale. Oh, there's a few cars there. Again, mainly TVRs at the minute. Oh, there's a Jag there. Now sold. So the website isn't particularly orientated to Jags or to the upgrades they're offering. It seems like it's more servicing upgrades. TVR servicing as well, bodywork. They're offering bodywork for the TVR, repairs, interior, race prep, parts. So it's a bit more TVR orientated, although it still does the Jag stuff. So there you go, that's Racing Green Cars, still going, and that's their website. Okay, so we're going to do some more videos about these XKRs upgrades and mods, and we're going to particularly look at Arden. One thing in common with Paramount, Performance, and Racing Green back in the day was these ardent automotive GmbH kits. So basically, they were installing stuff that was made in Germany. So we'll take a look at that firsthand. There you go. The Silver Typhoon, the brochure card, the price list 2001, and the current offers. I'd like to request any information you've got about Chasseur, Paramount Performance, Racing Green, or Arden, particularly or more focused in Jaguar XKR modifications of the time. So if you've got a car with some very unique mods, please drop us a line at ondr@gmail.com. Thanks again to Martin Bolt for sharing the photographs of his car. Really nice car. And thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you'd like to see more XK8 videos.